Nobody questioned why the Galactic Apex Academy accepted prodigies from hundreds of civilizations. The institution had spent nearly 6,000 years selecting only the brightest minds in known space. Future admirals, planetary governors, quantum engineers, and diplomatic leaders all passed through its halls. Admission standards were so extreme that entire species celebrated whenever even a single student earned a place there. That was why the arrival notice caused immediate confusion. The Academy's public database listed every incoming student along with their species classification, homeworld, academic history, and biological profile. For one transfer student, however, almost every category had been erased. Name, Eva. Everything else was restricted. At first, students assumed it was a clerical error. Then they learned the Academy administration itself had authorized the redactions. That only fueled speculation. Rumors spread through dormitories, research sectors, and communication networks faster than any official announcement could contain. Some believed Eva belonged to a classified military species. Others thought she was the daughter of a galactic ruler. A few claimed she might not even be from known space. Among those watching the gossip unfold was Daniel Reyes, one of the Academy's few human students. Daniel had spent 2 years proving he deserved his place. Humanity's reputation remained mediocre compared to older civilizations. Most species viewed humans as ambitious but unsophisticated newcomers who had advanced through persistence rather than brilliance. Daniel had heard every variation of the insult imaginable. Humans were too emotional. Too reckless. Too divided. Too primitive. His grades regularly outperformed students who mocked him, yet their opinions rarely changed. That morning, however, nobody was paying attention to humanity. Every eye focused on the Academy's central arrival platform. When Eva finally appeared, the reaction was immediate confusion. She looked ordinary. No towering physique. No exotic biological features. No intimidating presence. She appeared to be a young woman carrying a single travel case, calmly observing her surroundings as if arriving at the galaxy's most prestigious institution was completely routine. The disappointment among many students was obvious. This was the mysterious transfer. This was the individual behind all the secrecy. Yet before the crowd could lose interest, something strange happened. A security scanner near the platform abruptly shut down. Technicians exchanged confused looks. Seconds later, a second scanner restarted itself. Then a third. The platform's monitoring systems began cycling through diagnostics without explanation. Faculty members dismissed the malfunctions as temporary technical problems, but the timing was difficult to ignore. Eva continued walking. Another sensor crashed. An environmental analyzer froze. A navigation display briefly filled with unreadable symbols before returning to normal. The incidents were minor individually. Together, they created an unsettling pattern. Daniel noticed that Eva never reacted. She didn't appear surprised. She didn't even glance toward the malfunctioning systems. It was almost as if she expected them. Over the next several days, curiosity only intensified. Students naturally attempted to learn more about her through unofficial channels. Personal scanners were common throughout the Academy. Most could identify a species within seconds. The first student who scanned Eva received a result identifying her as human. The second received an extinct classification from a civilization that had vanished 20,000 years earlier. The third scanner produced 7 conflicting biological readings simultaneously. A fourth device simply overheated and stopped functioning. Soon, students began comparing results. None matched. Every attempt generated a different answer. Faculty members quietly confiscated dozens of corrupted scans while insisting there was no cause for concern. Their growing anxiety suggested otherwise. Daniel encountered Eva several times during lectures. She rarely spoke and never sought attention. Despite the constant scrutiny surrounding her, she behaved with remarkable calm. What unsettled him most was the way she observed people. Not like a student meeting strangers. More like someone studying a phenomenon. She watched conversations carefully. She paid attention to small acts of kindness. She seemed particularly interested whenever individuals helped one another without expecting rewards. It was as though she valued things nobody else considered important. One evening, unable to sleep, Daniel wandered toward one of the Academy's massive observation domes. The transparent structure overlooked a breathtaking region of space where countless stars illuminated the darkness beyond. As he entered, he realized he wasn't alone. Eva stood near the center of the chamber. She faced the stars in complete silence. Daniel was about to leave when he noticed her lips moving. She appeared to be speaking softly. Not through a communicator. Not to another person. To the stars themselves. An uncomfortable chill ran through him. Then something impossible happened. For a fraction of a second, every visible star beyond the dome flickered. Thousands of distant lights dimmed simultaneously. Then returned. The phenomenon lasted less than a heartbeat. Long enough for Daniel to know he hadn't imagined it. Eva slowly turned her head. Their eyes met across the chamber. For the first time since arriving at the Academy, she smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had just realized she was no longer alone. The incident inside the observation dome should have been impossible to forget, yet Daniel quickly discovered that nobody else had witnessed it. The Academy's sensors recorded no anomalies. The dome's monitoring systems reported normal operation. Even the astronomical network detected nothing unusual among the stars. Only Daniel remembered seeing thousands of distant suns flicker at once. The experience left him with a choice. He could convince himself he had imagined it, or he could start paying closer attention to Eva. He chose the second option. Over the following weeks, the Academy's annual intellectual trials began. These competitions were notorious throughout civilized space. Students faced theoretical problems so advanced that entire research teams often spent months solving similar challenges. Success brought prestige. Failure was expected. Eva participated without enthusiasm. That alone drew attention. Most students spent years preparing for these examinations. Entire species celebrated top rankings. Careers were built on performance scores. Eva treated every challenge as if it were a minor inconvenience. The first problem involved predicting quantum instability patterns inside an artificial singularity. Participants received 12 hours. Eva submitted an answer in less than 3 minutes. Professors assumed she misunderstood the assignment. She hadn't. Her solution was perfect. The second challenge required designing a stable energy architecture for a theoretical civilization operating near a collapsing star cluster. Again, she finished almost immediately. Again, she was correct. The third challenge caused genuine concern. The Academy's leading physicists had intentionally included an unsolved equation to evaluate creative reasoning. There was no accepted solution. Eva solved it. Not approximately. Not theoretically. Completely. The answer introduced mathematical principles unknown to modern science. Several professors spent days attempting to disprove her calculations. They failed. Whispers spread across the campus. Some students accused her of cheating. Others suspected secret technology. Neither explanation survived scrutiny. Every examination environment was monitored more closely than military command centers. No external assistance was possible. The simplest explanation became the most frightening one. Eva genuinely knew things nobody else knew. Daniel noticed another pattern. Despite overwhelming every academic competitor, she never displayed pride. She never celebrated victories or mocked failures. She seemed far more interested in observing reactions than proving superiority. Then the combat evaluations began. Unlike intellectual assessments, these tests measured physical adaptability and tactical awareness. During one exercise, a student from a warrior species lost control of his temper after being embarrassed academically. Determined to expose Eva as a fraud, he launched an unsanctioned attack before instructors could intervene. The strike should have connected. Witnesses later agreed on that point. Yet something strange happened. For a fraction of a second, reality itself appeared distorted. Observers described the sensation differently. Some claimed the attacker moved unusually slowly. Others believed Eva moved impossibly fast. Several students reported seeing brief visual echoes surrounding her position. The attacker missed entirely and crashed into a reinforced training barrier. Eva remained standing exactly where she had been. Unharmed. Unshaken. Almost disappointed. Academy security immediately reviewed the recordings. The footage only deepened the mystery. Several frames contained unexplained distortions. Time stamps showed microscopic inconsistencies. Sensor data contradicted visual evidence. The official report blamed equipment malfunction. Nobody believed it. Meanwhile, Daniel found himself speaking with Eva more frequently. Their conversations were unlike any he had experienced. Most aliens asked humans about technological progress, military development, or planetary politics. Eva never showed interest in those topics. Instead, she asked unusual questions. Why would humans risk their lives for strangers? Why did parents sacrifice so much for children they might never see succeed? Why did people continue helping others after suffering betrayal? Why did humans maintain hope during situations with little chance of success? Daniel struggled to answer. Many of these behaviors seemed normal to him. Eva listened carefully to every explanation. Almost reverently. As if the answers mattered more than advanced physics. Elsewhere, concern within the faculty reached critical levels. A classified investigation expanded beyond academy records into restricted historical archives. Ancient databases were examined. Lost civilizations were reviewed. Forgotten cultural records were recovered. Eventually researchers discovered something alarming. Descriptions matching Eva appeared repeatedly throughout galactic history. Different eras. Different worlds. Different species. Yet always the same appearance. Always the same name. The oldest references dated back tens of thousands of years. Each account described a mysterious young woman appearing briefly during pivotal moments in civilization development before vanishing again. The evidence was impossible to ignore. Eva had existed far longer than any known species. One night, after weeks of investigation, Academy researchers uncovered a preserved visual record stored inside an archaeological archive. The image was over 40,000 years old. A crowd of senior officials gathered to examine it. Silence filled the room. The woman standing in the recording looked exactly like Eva. Not similar. Not related. Identical. The same face. The same eyes. The same age. For the first time since her arrival, the Academy's leadership stopped asking what Eva was. They began asking what could live for 40,000 years and still choose to walk among students as if nothing about it were extraordinary. The discovery of the ancient image transformed curiosity into fear. Until that moment, Academy officials had treated Eva as a mystery that could eventually be explained. Now they faced evidence suggesting she had existed unchanged for longer than many civilizations had survived. Entire species had risen, expanded across the stars, and vanished into history during the span of her life. Daniel could feel the atmosphere around the Academy changing. Security measures increased. Faculty meetings became classified. Research databases disappeared behind authorization barriers. The administration clearly knew more than it was willing to share. Unfortunately for them, curiosity was one trait humans possessed in abundance. Daniel began investigating on his own. Using public archives, fragmented historical records, and overlooked references buried inside ancient academic collections, he followed a trail that seemed impossible at first. The further back he searched, the more frequently he found traces of Eva. Not direct appearances. Mentions. Descriptions. Legends. A silent observer present during turning points in galactic history. She appeared before major breakthroughs. She appeared before civilizational collapses. She appeared before first contact events. Then she vanished. Always watching. Never interfering. The pattern eventually led Daniel toward a collection of heavily restricted records that should not have existed. Most had been deliberately erased. Entire sections of galactic history appeared to have been removed by someone with immense authority. Yet fragments remained. And those fragments revealed a truth unlike anything he expected. Millions of years before the modern galactic community existed, an ancient intelligence traveled between the stars. It was not a biological species. It was something far older and far more advanced. The surviving records described it as a guardian of potential life. Rather than conquer worlds, it studied them. Rather than rule civilizations, it evaluated them. It searched endlessly for something specific. A species capable of inheriting the future. Thousands of developing civilizations were observed. Most failed. Some destroyed themselves through war. Others became stagnant and lost the ability to adapt. Several achieved technological greatness but abandoned empathy entirely. The ancient intelligence continued searching. That was where Eva entered the story. She had not been born. She had been created. A living observer designed to operate across immense stretches of time. Her mission was simple. Watch. Learn. Judge. For tens of thousands of years she monitored emerging civilizations, gathering evidence and reporting her findings. Daniel expected humanity to be a minor footnote within those records. Instead, humanity occupied an enormous portion of them. That made no sense. Compared to older species, humans were relatively young. Their expansion into space was recent. Their achievements, while impressive, hardly seemed unique. Then Daniel started reading Eva's evaluations. The earliest assessments were brutal. Humans were violent. Tribal. Emotionally unstable. Prone to conflict. Capable of extraordinary cruelty. Several reports predicted eventual self-destruction. The ancient intelligence apparently agreed. Humanity was expected to fail. But later evaluations began changing. Not because humans became perfect. Because they repeatedly survived situations that should have ended them. Global disasters. Resource shortages. Political collapse. Environmental crises. Wars. Again and again, humanity approached extinction. Again and again, humanity refused to disappear. What fascinated Eva wasn't human strength. It was human behavior during catastrophe. When conditions became unbearable, cooperation often emerged where logic predicted collapse. Strangers helped strangers. Communities rebuilt after devastation. Individuals sacrificed personal survival for future generations they would never meet. Even after immense suffering, humans continued creating art, sharing knowledge, and imagining better futures. No other civilization displayed that pattern so consistently. Most species achieved unity through stability. Humans discovered unity through adversity. That difference changed everything. According to the records, the ancient intelligence eventually reached a startling conclusion. Humanity possessed qualities that could not be measured through technology, military power, or intelligence tests. Resilience. Compassion. Adaptability. Hope. Not individually. Together. The combination appeared nowhere else in the galaxy. Humanity was no longer viewed as another developing species. It became the leading candidate for something far greater. The realization shook Daniel. Everything he had been taught suggested humans occupied a lower position within galactic society. Yet hidden records painted an entirely different picture. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations had mistaken sophistication for superiority. The ancient intelligence had not. Before Daniel could process the implications, another discovery emerged. The files indicated that this information had been intentionally concealed from the public. If dominant civilizations learned humanity had been chosen as the most promising species in galactic history, political chaos would follow. Entire systems of power depended on assumptions of hierarchy. The truth threatened all of them. Daniel finally understood why the records had been buried. He also understood why Eva had come to the academy. The question was no longer who she was. The question was why she had revealed herself now. He found the answer sooner than expected. One evening, Eva approached him without warning. Her expression carried none of its usual calm. For the first time, she looked genuinely concerned. "The others think I came here to observe humanity," she said quietly. Daniel waited. After thousands of years of certainty, she seemed reluctant to speak the next words. Then she looked toward the stars. "I came because something finally found it." A cold silence followed. "What found it?" Daniel asked. Eva's eyes never left the darkness beyond the academy. "The only thing my creators ever feared." Daniel wanted answers, but Eva did not provide them immediately. For several days, she disappeared from public activities. Classes continued, examinations resumed, and academy leadership attempted to maintain normal operations. The effort failed. Something was happening across the galaxy. Long-range monitoring stations began reporting impossible observations. Entire star systems were vanishing from navigational maps. At first, scientists assumed equipment failures. Then additional reports arrived from independent sources. The missing systems were real. Thousands of planets, moons, stations, and fleets had simply ceased to exist. No debris fields remained. No energy signatures. No evidence of warfare. One moment those systems occupied known space. The next moment they were gone. Panic spread quickly. Civilizations that had survived wars, plagues, and economic collapse suddenly faced an enemy they could not even understand. Governments demanded explanations. Military alliances mobilized fleets. Scientists searched desperately for patterns. Only Eva seemed unsurprised. When Daniel finally confronted her, she revealed the truth. The ancient intelligence that created her had not been alone. For millions of years, two opposing forces existed beyond the awareness of younger civilizations. One sought growth. The other sought erasure. One cultivated possibility. The other eliminated it. The ancient intelligence believed intelligent life deserved the opportunity to evolve beyond its flaws. Its counterpart disagreed. It viewed developing civilizations as chaotic variables that inevitably generated instability. Whenever a species demonstrated the potential to alter the future in significant ways, the destroyer intervened. Entire civilizations vanished before reaching maturity. Countless histories ended before they could begin. The conflict had continued across unimaginable spans of time. Eventually, the ancient intelligence disappeared. Whether it had been destroyed or sacrificed itself remained unknown. Only Eva survived. She continued observing, waiting for the day the enemy returned. Now it had. The revelation reached galactic leaders soon afterward. Instead of creating unity, it created division. Several governments blamed humanity. If humans had truly been selected as the future successor species, then they represented the reason the threat had returned. Political factions argued that humanity should be isolated. Others proposed surrender. Some advocated abandoning entire regions of space to preserve their own populations. Fear exposed weaknesses hidden beneath centuries of prosperity. Daniel watched alliances fracture almost overnight. Yet humanity reacted differently. Earth's response surprised nearly everyone. There was no demand for special protection. No calls for surrender. No effort to shift responsibility elsewhere. Human leaders openly acknowledged the danger and immediately began coordinating resources with neighboring civilizations. Scientists shared research without demanding compensation. Engineers offered technology to former rivals. Medical networks prepared emergency support systems for species they barely knew. Volunteer organizations appeared across hundreds of human colonies within days. The response confused many observers. Humanity lacked the largest fleets. It lacked the most advanced technology. It lacked political dominance. Yet humans behaved as though the crisis belonged to everyone. Eva noticed it too. For thousands of years she had studied humanity. She understood their strengths and weaknesses better than any living being. Even so, something about this moment surprised her. Daniel eventually asked what she was seeing. Her answer was simple. Most species become weaker when fear spreads. She paused. Humans become connected. Meanwhile, evidence of the approaching enemy grew impossible to ignore. Regions near the galactic frontier reported spatial distortions. Communication networks failed without explanation. Exploration fleets disappeared during routine missions. Then the first direct observation occurred. A military task force investigating a vanished sector transmitted its final report. The recording showed reality itself bending. Stars appeared stretched into impossible shapes. Distances lost meaning. Sensors produced contradictory data. At the center of the distortion existed something that no computer could properly identify. The transmission ended seconds later. The entire task force disappeared. As panic intensified, evacuation plans were drafted across thousands of worlds. Many leaders privately concluded that resistance was pointless. No known weapon had any effect. No known strategy offered hope. The galaxy had encountered a force capable of deleting civilizations from existence. Against such power, survival seemed impossible. Yet humanity continued preparing. Not for escape. For resistance. Factories expanded production. Research teams worked continuously. Civilian volunteers supported military logistics. Former competitors cooperated without hesitation. The behavior appeared irrational to outside observers. To humans, it was familiar. They had faced impossible odds before. Perhaps not on this scale, but the principle remained unchanged. You fight because surrender guarantees failure. Then the enemy arrived near the Academy system. Space itself began distorting around the region. Defense fleets mobilized. Emergency sirens echoed across orbital habitats. For the first time in her existence, genuine concern appeared in Eva's eyes. Not because the enemy had come. Because humanity was about to do something no civilization in galactic history had ever attempted. And somehow, she suspected that impossible decision might change everything. As the distortions expanded around the Academy system, every major civilization reached the same conclusion. The enemy could not be defeated. Its arrival ignored conventional physics. Fleets disappeared before weapons could lock targets. Entire regions of space folded into impossible geometries. Communication networks collapsed. Predictive algorithms failed. Every military doctrine developed over thousands of years became useless. The galaxy searched desperately for a weapon powerful enough to stop it. Humanity searched for something else. A way to stand together. Instead of concentrating resources around human territory, Earth proposed a different strategy. Information, technology, logistics, manufacturing capacity, and scientific discoveries would be shared openly with every cooperating civilization. Many leaders considered the idea absurd. Some even called it suicidal. Humanity possessed no guarantee of survival. Yet it was giving away advantages it had spent centuries building. Humans ignored the criticism. Within weeks, former enemies exchanged military intelligence. Rival governments coordinated evacuation efforts. Species that had spent generations distrusting one another began operating from unified command structures. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxy functioned as a single civilization. The enemy responded immediately. Distortions intensified. Entire defensive formations vanished. Supply routes disappeared. Fear spread across thousands of worlds. Yet something unexpected happened. The greater the pressure became, the more cooperation increased. When one colony lost power, neighboring systems redirected energy reserves. When evacuation fleets became stranded, strangers crossed dangerous regions to rescue them. When military units were overwhelmed, reinforcements arrived from species that had once considered one another competitors. The destroyer had spent millions of years exploiting isolation. It understood fear. It understood selfishness. It understood survival instincts. What it did not understand was sacrifice. Daniel witnessed examples everywhere. Engineers worked until exhaustion maintaining infrastructure they would never personally use. Pilots volunteered for missions with almost no chance of return. Scientists shared breakthroughs freely instead of protecting reputations. Billions of individuals made decisions that placed collective survival above personal safety. No government ordered them to do so. They simply chose it. As the crisis escalated, Eva finally understood something that had eluded her throughout 40,000 years of observation. Humanity's greatest strength had never been intelligence. Many species were smarter. It had never been military capability. Many species were stronger. It had never been technological sophistication. Many species were more advanced. The defining human trait was their refusal to face darkness alone. The realization changed her. For her entire existence, she had remained neutral. She observed civilizations. She evaluated them. She recorded outcomes. She never interfered. Now she made a different choice. For the first time since her creation, Eva openly took a side. Using systems left behind by her creators, she transmitted a declaration across the galaxy. Every government, every fleet, every inhabited world received the same message. Humanity had succeeded where countless civilizations had failed. Not because it was flawless. Because it continued striving despite its flaws. The ancient search was over. The species her creators had been seeking all along had finally proven itself. The message spread faster than panic ever could. Hope followed. Not blind optimism. Determination. The enemy continued advancing, but its progress slowed. The more civilizations united, the more unpredictable their behavior became. Strategies emerged from millions of independent minds working toward a common goal. Problems were solved faster than they could spread. Losses were absorbed instead of multiplying. The destroyer encountered something entirely unfamiliar. A galaxy that refused to fragment. Its strength depended on division. Humanity had removed that advantage. The final collapse came gradually. Then all at once. The distortions weakened. Vanished systems reappeared. Communication networks stabilized. For the first time in months, the stars looked normal. The threat that had erased civilizations for millions of years was gone. Not destroyed through superior force. Defeated by unity. In the aftermath, hidden records became public. The truth about Eva. The truth about the ancient intelligence. The truth about humanity. Many expected humans to claim authority over the galaxy. They did not. The revelation had never been about ruling others. It was about responsibility. Humanity had been chosen because it inspired cooperation, not obedience. Years later, Daniel met Eva one final time. Her mission had ended. The purpose that guided her across tens of thousands of years was complete. She looked toward the same stars she had watched for ages. Only now there was satisfaction in her expression. "I spent my life searching for proof," she said. "Proof of what?" Daniel asked. "That intelligence could become wisdom." For a moment, silence filled the space between them. Then she smiled. This time it was warm. Entirely human. The galaxy believed humanity was ordinary. She looked toward the countless worlds now connected by trust rather than fear. That was its greatest mistake. Soon afterward, Eva departed. No one knew where she went. But her final lesson endured. Power built civilizations. Knowledge advanced them. Yet the force that ultimately saved the galaxy was something far simpler. When every reason to surrender appeared, humanity chose hope. And in doing so, taught the stars how to stand together.